So we've been talking about church bulletins, evangelism, small groups, and we've got Ruth joining us from Alaska. We've got Julia, who leads the prayer in our local charismatic prayer group. And we've got Beth, who also is a core member of our charismatic prayer group, and there's me doing whatever I do usually. And we were just discussing about bulletins and church newsletters, and we were contrasting a typical Catholic one, and I don't mean to be critical whatsoever of it, but that's typical of what a parish, and it comes out every week in normal times, not in COVID-19, it goes online, which is good. And here's a typical Pentecostal one I just happened to have laying about. And I thought, hey, you know, let's have a look at it. And it's got like youth, it's got university stuff for university students and so forth. And Ruth, you were saying, you made a really good point, and that is that the bulletin is for the parishioners, not as a tool for evangelism. I was just wondering if we could expand on that, and perhaps because you're in Alaska and the churches tend to be a little bit more active, I think they're a little bit more advanced than some of us in England. What kind of strategies do you have in your parish to actually do that outreach and that personal contact? Have you got any advice for us, please?
Well, we do have a special things that people can fill out and put in the offertory or whatever, if they would, you know, if they're interested. And then we periodically do invitations from the AMBO after, you know, during the announcements after Mass, inviting people to pre-catechumenate question and answer times. So we do those things from the Mass, but mostly what we do is try to encourage the individual people to engage. So we have, for instance, after Mass, we have either coffee and donuts or a meal that everyone's invited to. And so that builds both the parishioners together and the and then the newcomers are welcome to engage. And the encouragement is to find the new people and, you know, bring them into those kinds of things, to give them a little taste. That sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. And now we have COVID, and so yeah. That's not working. But those are some of the things. I mean, I don't think that we're more advanced than anywhere else. And it depends on the parish, even here, what they're doing and how it's working. One thing,
I like the idea of the food, though. I think food is always a draw, isn't it?
It is in Alaska.
It's everywhere. It's universal.
And in Spokane, they have the children's religious ed between the two morning masses on Sunday, and during that time they have coffee and donuts in the gym for, you know, and we get a lot of young adults there that have small children or have children, you know, maybe middle-aged people.
What is that then, Ruth? What's that? Did you say in between the masses you have a what for the children?
It's the religious ed program. And they just place it between the two masses. So while the kids are in religious ed, the parents are invited. Well, everybody's invited, and there is a smattering of everybody, but there are a lot of parents that do that because they're either coming early for religious ed or they're staying after Mass for religious ed. Especially the ones that are staying after Mass come to the coffee and donuts, and then that builds community too. Right. Yeah. And we find that there are, it's not a lot, but there are newcomers tend to come over and see what's happening.
So where do the newcomers come from? Are they transferring from other parishes, maybe moving into the area, or do you get like complete nones that have no background in the faith at all?
Both. We get a lot of people. Well, it's not a lot. We get some people who come in who from other like Protestant denominations or maybe sometimes a Mormon or a JW or something that's just not satisfied. We get people who used to be Catholic and have kind of not had any religion, and now maybe they have children and they're looking for something. All of it, that seems to be a big draw, is people now have children and they want them baptized, or they think, okay, I had a religious background, how are my kids gonna know whether they want one or not if they aren't exposed? So sometimes we get people like that. But in Spokane, there's also groups, and they're more in parish groups, but they jump start the people to reach out. We have like a group of men that meet once a month and at a pub, and so other people overhear them, and but those things seem to work.
Now, Beth, there's Liz there. Beth, you were talking to me during the week about your work with migrants and so forth. And have you got any strategies? Because we're getting a lot of people coming across the channel right now in their hundreds every day. And so there's quite a different discussion about that. And have you had any experience of actually sharing the gospel with any of the migrants that you've come across in your work, etc.?
Yes, there's quite a few of them that comes in, but you find majority of them are Muslim as well, and I do speak to them about it because I've got a daughter who is a Muslim.
Okay.
Grandchildren Muslim, so I sort of, when I said I've got, children, I've got a daughter who is Muslim and grandchildren are Muslim, they tend to just open up, and would have a chat and so forth, find out what they need or what can I help them with. We could give them jobs and so forth.
So I think there you're talking about finding something to identify with. So I think this is really what it is. It's like, it's building bridges. So there's some kind of an identity you have with that other person, however tenuous it is, rather than, we tend to build walls. We don't just come out and say, hey, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. You've got to give your life to him, otherwise you're going to hell. Or, Allah isn't really the God you should be worshiping, all kinds of stuff like that. What we're doing is building a wall. But if we actually love these people and see what their needs are and bind, like the Good Samaritan, he bound up the wounds and placed him on the donkey, and then at his own expense put him up in an inn or a hotel or travel lodge. If it was my son, it'd be a travel lodge. He loves travel lodge. And, paid the bill for him without expecting anything in return. But he wasn't even religious. He was the non-religious.
It's not even that, but sometimes, when you're talking to them and you hear the story of, why they do it, because people wouldn't just get up and leave their family and jump in a boat miles across the sea. They're literally looking something better for the family, and they put together and what liquor they find. You got people got there who offer them a better life. Maybe I can get you over to England, and when you we'll get you some job. Knowing that these people are only trying to make money themselves. So they scrape up everything they have, pay this person only to find themselves halfway across the Atlantic, nowhere to go. They've been treating as if they're animals and so forth. And if you go back where they come from, a lot of them were decent people, but they don't get treated like that because they're in about, 20, 40 of them stuck together. They're in lorries. And, sometimes I see that I felt sorry for them because there's someone as well who leave their country. I mean, when I came here, I was 17. So I had a thing about my country. I didn't want to leave. But because my mama died and my dad was my next of kin, my grandmother and aunt pushed me over here to him. And when I come, I was shocked, because we have this close-knit family. And when I came here, nobody have time for you.
Wow.
And that was the first thing I find that was really heartbreaking. And I want to go back home. And I was naughty because if I want to go back home, I'm going back home. So what I did, I find where the immigration office was. And I would get in my family in trouble like that. And I go there and I tell them, I said, I want to go back to Jamaica. lady interviewed me and she says, have you got family there? I said, yes, I've got my grandmother, I've got my auntie, I've got my uncle, so I've got family. And I thought she was going to say, okay, bring your thing and I'll put you in a plane. But instead of that, she came to my dad's house to inquire. And when I heard the doorbell ring and I saw her, I thought, oh, I'm dead now. I'm dead. Oh, help me. You know, and then she told my dad what I said, which I thought it was something just between both of us.
Yeah.
And my dad called me in the room and he thought to me, so I tell him exactly why I want to do it. He said, I didn't felt any love here.
Yeah.
But back home, you know, my grandmother, my aunt, everybody loved me. But here, nobody showed me that love. And because of that, I want to go back home. You know, and he begged me not to go back because then my family and him would fall out because they want me here for me to better myself.
Yeah.
For me to come and to go back, they wouldn't speak to him.
Oh.
I was in a 50-50 catch. So my mom had a friend in Birmingham here, which I love very much. And I know she loved me. So I said, well, then, if I don't go back to Jamaica, I need to come to Birmingham. So I signed the paper, and that's how I end up in Birmingham.
Wow.
So, you know, I can, you know, talk to people and let people know. And I said, sometimes, as I put it in it, that things happen for you for a reason.
Yeah.
Not because the Lord punishing you,
No.
but He's going to use you to help somebody else. And this is why we need to look out for people, you know, who needed help, because you don't have the Lord. What you go through as a sacrifice or as something that was bad for you, you can comfort somebody else who is going through it.
Yeah.
That's how I actually look at it.
That's true. That's one of the things that they do up here.
Yeah.
We have a Deacons Fund, and it's used to help people who maybe can't make their rent that month or need a bus pass or, you know, and so people will come during the week to the church and apply for those things. And it's not a process that's like, you know, fill out all these paperworks and then wait. It's an interactive, loving kind of thing. And so, you know, that lets people know that, you know, who we are too.
Wow, that is brilliant. Perhaps you can, at some other point, Ruth, you can give us a little bit of coaching on how that works and how that's set up. Julia, that would be fantastic in our parishes, wouldn't it? Especially, I mean, because Julia's parish and our parish work pretty close together, and we've got two parishes. So there's, Liz, what parish are you in?
I'm St. Paul's.
So we've got 4 parishes there, right here, in Birmingham, and others as well. And if we could do something like that.
I know with our parish, the SVP has been.
Yes, we do that as well.
They've been providing people over the time of the lockdown and into the summer holidays, because people are very difficult. They've been providing food. They've got all the way through lockdown, and even now they've been providing food to people and going and like the stories from that. Because I was telling you, John, about us having the newsletter as well in our parish, and there was a little story how, you know, they go to one family and the little girl will say, "Oh, Mum, it's like Christmas." You know, it was just
excitement.
And that sort of the community coming together and reaching out to people who really do need that.
When you have more than just a delivery, when you have a place where people can come in and request help, it's really important to have the right people there for them to talk to, because they have to be people who are kind and listening, but also people who can see through, you know,
what's up.
You know, you've been to 16 different other places and you're collecting all this stuff. So it takes a really
dedicated sort of person, patient,
kind, loving, but also, you know,
discernment. You need discernment.
Be as wise as
wise as serpent, harmless as a dove. And it takes training. Like we're not, as Catholics, we're not that great on training the non-ordained, the lay person, excuse that expression, we're not very good at training them to take leadership. If you've got a secular job, you have to go through training. There should be no different in the church. You know, we create teams that actually have those values embedded. Sorry, Julia?
Our parish priest had that sort of theme running through his sermon this Sunday, because that's a big theme with Father James Mullon, what he calls clericalism, or the Pope has kind of branded it clericalism.
James Mullon, for those that don't know who he is, Father James Mullon, he heads up an apostolate called Divine Renovation. He's based in Canada. He comes to England at least once a year, and he comes to USA. He's been doing Zoom meetings, and they really do a lot of training when it comes to small groups and so forth. Sorry, Julia, just carry on. We got Peter on the phone, by the way. Praise God.
Basically saying that yes, we've got this, not just priests and that, but everybody sort of within the church, particularly the Catholic Church, has got that mindset of, well, if it's ministry or whatever, then there's got to be a priest or a nun or a deacon or a clerical person to do it. Whereas actually Father Cecil was saying, you know, we've got to look at ourselves and say, what can we do? What can we? Where's the outreach? We're going to do that outreach. We're turning around far more. So he's very open. Hopefully, it's not just words, but he's very open.
We've got 3 weeks to think about it, pray about it, and perhaps to talk, you know, mull it around and see what the Holy Spirit does. Because the last thing we want to do is to try and do a project that the Holy Spirit is leading us into. So that's the whole thing of community building. It's like we have to allow the Holy Spirit to build us so that we have a vision and a direction and a unity and a humility, so that the Lord can then flow through us in harmony with our parishes and in, you know, together dialoguing with our parish priests and deacons to see, you know, where we can go with it. Unfortunately, we're really blessed because we've got Deacon Bill, who I'm thinking of, okay, just between you and me, I'm thinking of giving Deacon Bill, on behalf of the Shalom Christian Charismatic Group, a special award when we come out of this, because he has been, he's not really charismatic, but he's been so supportive of our prayer group and of me personally and our family and other people, absolutely supportive. And so, I'm thinking about some kind of little surprise for him when we come out of all this and meet face to face. I think on that bombshell, perhaps we'll take a break. And as Julia said, we can perhaps get into some worship.
Yes.
If you'd like to do that, everyone, thank you so